When Cougar Flight 491 crashed into the Atlantic 55 kilometers off St. John's on March 12, 2009, it cast a pall over the entire province. 17 lives were lost, and it was a tough time for everyone, including reporters who covered the tragic event. Steve was one of them, and here he is in a piece talking about how it affected him.
I recently celebrated my work anniversary, and in 20 years of newspapering in Newfoundland, no moment stands out more than watching the wreckage of Cougar Flight 491 come through the Narrows on the deck of a ship. The somber sight was the culmination of a chilling week. My first assignment after the March 2009 helicopter crash was a tough one. My bosses wanted me to get reaction from families, not to be a vulture and prey on the grief-stricken, but to give people a chance to speak publicly if they wanted to. It's always been my experience that some people want to speak after a tragedy, while others don't, or they simply aren't able to. I respect both positions and would never be pushy or persistent or anything but sensitive. But my sensitivity wouldn't be needed. No one wanted to speak in the days and hours after the crash. After I was peacefully escorted from the hotel where the families were staying by security and police, we decided to change gears editorially and let the families contact us if they wanted to speak. I stayed with the paper's helicopter crash coverage for the next week or so. We punched long hours trying to provide an anxious public with every single angle we could about the tragedy. It was exhausting. Flight 491 went down on a Tuesday morning, and around lunchtime the following Wednesday, we learned the Atlantic Osprey was returning to St. John's with the wreckage. I went down to Prosper's Rock to watch the ship come in. Some other reporters had the same idea. After about an hour or so, we saw the Osprey on the horizon. It's impossible to accurately describe how I felt when the ship sailed past at about 3:50 p.m. On its deck was a large cage covered in tarps and some blue and red helicopter rotors. After writing about the crash, the 17 people lost, and the recovery efforts for the better part of a week, seeing the wreckage made me shiver. I felt a mix of anger, helplessness, and sadness. I thought about the people who died and their families. I thought about the people who work offshore. I thought about the future. I thought about a lot of things. It was an absolutely surreal moment. I wept driving home that night, and when I reached my house, I was completely numb. It was the most draining day I'd ever put in, and I still think about it often. No story has ever had that effect on me. I'm hoping another one never does.